This is Jessie Carty with Shape of a Box, and today we have an interview with Gail Martin, the author of The Chronicles of the Necromancer, a fantasy adventure series. The first book in the series, The Summoner, came out in 2007, followed by Book 2, The Blood King, in February of 2008. In February of 2009, Dark Haven will be released, but there are more books to come in this epic fantasy series.
Dark Haven is the newest book in the Chronicles of the Necromancer, and it picks up after The Blood King, but it's a different storyline in that it doesn't continue the same epic struggle that happens between the Summoner and the Blood King. It picks up with the day after, almost exactly. And in the Summoner and the Blood King, and not wanting to give away any of that plot, you're focused on having the main characters live through and succeed in a particularly challenging quest. And they're focused on doing that, and the assumption is that if they can just win the day, everything will be okay and things will go back to normal, and of course it never does that. So in Dark Haven, we pick up with after that's over with to see how has the world really changed, and in what ways will it never be the same again, and what new challenges are out there. So we see a lot of the same characters, but we also see a lot of new characters, and some folks that were fairly minor characters get a much bigger piece. So it really takes you deeper into the world of the Winter Kingdoms. Well, it probably helps that I was a history major, which is one of those things that your parents go, what are you going to do with that? I managed to get it by them saying it was really great to get into grad school with, so that worked. But that kind of gave me a good sense for how political systems and historical countries have been organized. And I think, in talking with a lot of other writers, we steal liberally from history in terms of what people have done, how battles were fought, things like that that can be changed a little, adapted, updated. That's kind of fair game. Things that happened 2,000 years ago are definitely in the public domain by now. And you know, in terms of historical events. But, so it's got roots in real world stuff. But on the other hand, the best way I find is I mentally live there as much of the time as I possibly can. Slow grocery line, I mentally check out and start thinking about what I'm going to do with the next scene. Anytime I have waiting time, if I'm sitting in an office or sitting in a reception room, my mind clicks out, and I may have a magazine in front of me, but I'm really thinking about something else. And the more time you spend there mentally, the more you start thinking about, well, I wonder how that works, or I wonder what would happen if. And there's a lot of material that you're never going to write about specifically because it would be too much of a distraction. But in some ways, it's almost like the kinds of things that a lot of times people write fan fiction about, where it's the scenes that don't make it in, or the things that happen in between one scene or another. Mentally, I go through that and think, so what happened? I ended here and I picked up here. So how did that work in between? And I may never write that down, but I know it, and it makes it work for me. And then well, a couple of things. I got the main character for Tris Drake years before I had his story, and he just didn't want to go away. So he had a few other stories that weren't ready for prime time before he got the book that he's in now. But the character really intrigued me. The other piece that came to me in this case was the idea of, well, what would happen in a society where it wasn't considered unusual for people to speak to the dead and for the dead to speak back. It wasn't kind of the stuff of Sci-Fi Channel, it wasn't the fringe stuff, it was just the way the world worked. How would that change us, and how would that change our society, and how would that change our beliefs? In fact, I kind of did a long riff on that subject on John Marco's blog a couple of weeks ago in November. thinking about all the different ways it would change everything from religion to history to maybe even the whole science of the written word, if you could access your ancestors and ask them what really happened. Well, on the other half of my life, I write quite a bit of nonfiction and marketing materials, so I've written on a pretty wide variety of things. But for fiction, fantasy has been my first love and really where I've concentrated my time. Someday I may try something else, but right now it's what I really love writing. I think the biggest thing is to just stay with it. Someone gave me a joke once of, what do you call a persistent writer? And the answer is published. Because everybody who gets published got a whole lot of rejections before they got the one that didn't reject them. And everybody's got their rejection stories and their sheaf of letters, most of which are form letters going, your material does not meet our editorial needs at this time. And you can tell it was photocopied so many times that the ink is coming off. Everybody's got those. You just have to believe in your story enough that you keep going until you find the other people who want to believe in it too. It should come out right around the 1st of February. In fact, I've already gotten some of the initial print run from the UK edition, so I know that it's out there, it just hasn't shipped. Right, it'll be available in bookstores internationally, it's on Amazon, but if you want to pre-order it, you can go to thewinterkingdoms.com, and I got together with about 8 of my other author friends, knowing that most of my readers read hundreds of books a year, and they added in some bonus incentives there. So if you pre-order from Amazon through thewinterkingdoms.com, you get bonus goodies from 8 of my other author friends, just to kind of make a good incentive there. But yes, you can find it online, and come February 1st, you should be able to find it in your local bookstore. If you haven't had a chance to pick up The Summoner, The Blood King, and you want to get a look at the world of the Winter Kingdoms, come on over to my website. It's chroniclesofthenecromancer.com. There are excerpts from all of the books there, interviews, video blogs, all kinds of fun stuff, and it's just a great way to get to know the books and me and the world of my fantasy adventure. So that's chroniclesofthenecromancer.com.
We want to thank Gail so much for her time. We're going to have links in the sidebar to all of the websites we mentioned so that you'll be able to click through and purchase the books and check out the additional materials. Thank you.